Okay, guys, good morning. It is morning here in Taiwan. Kyle Dubas is the president of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wow, this blows my mind. I know the Fenway Sports Group pretty well. I've followed them and studied them carefully since 2010 when they took over Liverpool. That's my home team. My family is all from Liverpool. So it surprises me that they've been fooled by Dubas. Yeah, on the one hand. The other hand, it doesn't. So what surprises me, or what doesn't surprise me, why have they hired him? He can get cheap players who look like value for money, who can fill a roster and do a job adequately. I'm thinking of Bunting, Kerfoot, Engvall, Kampf, these guys, right? Um, and this is what FSG like. They like because they had Michael Edwards in Liverpool. Michael Edwards was excellent. I mean, he was the best at getting players at a good price who then blossomed on the team. Mohamed Salah is a very good example. Um, and FSG likes that, and I think that makes sense in a cap era. It, the analytics look right from the outside, and I say from the outside because FSG took a good 5 or 6 years to start to understand football. And in that time, they hired Brendan Rodgers as a coach, and he was pretty good. Um, he also had some incredible players who really pulled that team up, did fairly well. And then FSG got smart and realized that they needed someone like Klopp, who understood the game inside out and could work with their philosophy at the same time. That I see happening in Pittsburgh. So if Dubas is there, I think he'll be there for between 4 to 6 years. He will be adequate. They'll make the playoffs once or twice. And when Sydney retires, and there's a few other aging players, I don't know that team inside out, sorry, but Sydney's 35, that team will drop. And the reason they'll drop, so there's two ways that'll go. If he starts bringing in players who are, let's call them character playoff performers, and they build a Ryan O'Reilly, Acciari, hard-nosed, grinding, running into corners, Sam Bennett, Kachuk kind of player, Pittsburgh could do okay. But they won't do well because they don't have draft picks to throw away. Dubas threw away 6 first-rounders in Toronto, 6, and really ended up with what out of it? Jake McCabe for 2 years. Jake McCabe is a second-line pairing guy. He's a defensive defenseman, made mistakes, big mistakes in the playoffs, his first playoff run. So Pittsburgh doesn't have much to work with. They can't really trade their big guys away. I don't think Dubas has the courage to do that anyway. I think that would probably be one of my first moves, is to trade away someone big for picks, a first rounder, and a solid second line center, for example. I would do it because you got to build a workman-like team, a Seattle Kraken, a Vegas, Dallas, Florida, Carolina. That's what wins, right? That's who's all in the finals. Even you go back to St. Louis, LA, same thing. That's generally what wins. And everyone was high on the Oilers and the Leafs. Well, no, that's not the formula. So, and the question is, does Dubas understand that? And I don't think he does. I think he threw away those draft picks at the last minute to change his philosophy in Toronto to try and win, and it didn't work, and he doesn't understand why. And in 6 years, he never understood why. He was trading Mason Marchment, who went with Dallas to the conference finals, to get us Dennis Malgin, who he traded away for Hunt, who played a couple games and disappeared. Like, trading the right guy for the wrong guy for a guy who's not good enough. And where did Colorado go in the playoffs, right? So it's what I see happening more likely is mediocrity. And he's not got enough chips to play with to improve that team, even if he goes for the right kinds of guys. I don't see him doing it. So I see mediocrity, and I see him lasting 4 to 6 years, and then FSG, perhaps, because they are very smart, FSG. I will tell you that they are an incredibly smart group of people. I have so much respect for them as an organization. They didn't do everything perfectly at Liverpool, but if you look at their tenure, we won a Champions League, we won a league title, which are major, major, major accomplishments. And we're financially in an amazing place in Liverpool. So they're smart people, and it'll take them a few years, and they'll figure out what I can tell you right now about this press conference, what I can see. And when they see it as well, they'll get rid of him, and they'll get someone who's middle-aged, up and coming, with a strong pedigree. That'll happen in 4 to 6 years. So why do I say all this? This press conference from Dubas is, to me, it screams of everything that I had a problem with in Toronto. So let's just start with body language, okay? Dubas, look at him, he's like this. Maybe I'll put the picture on. He's got his hand folded like this. Why? In front of him. He's protecting himself, right? And he's red-faced, and he's looking intently at the questioner, at the journalist, right? Now, that's defensive. Secondly, and nervous, and I'll tell you also why you can tell he's nervous. When the very first person asked him a question, he said sure twice before the question was finished. He's agreeing with something because he's nervous. He wants approval before listening to the question and then saying, I'm not quite sure what you're saying is right. I'm not quite sure I agree with you. I'm not quite sure you framed the question correctly. Like, he's not coming back with anything. He's just going, oh yes, oh good. Thank you, Tim. That's a very good question, Tim. Oh, I'm really glad you asked that question. It's nerves because he's not got the confidence as a manager, and he shouldn't be president. He should be a scout. He'd be a good scout. He'd be a very good scout. I'd hire him as a scout every day of the week. Go out, find me players, use your analytics, find guys who for a low price are going to do fairly well. Go off to Europe, go to Russia, have a nice time. So, now I'm not saying I know, it's a really hard job being a GM. I can just tell you, I can see that you can't do it. So, next thing, when he answers the questions, well, first of all, first thing he said was, in the press conference, was 5 minutes of my family's comfortable in Pittsburgh. Everyone's very nice. Oh, does that remind anyone of Toronto? Oh, I'd like a 5-year, $11 million deal with a no-move clause. Okay, here you go, everyone. That's very nice. Oh, aren't we all happy? Oh, sorry, Marner, you want one as well? Oh, we like you. You sell tickets for the organization. Here you go. Oh, yes. Oh, Riley, you want an 8-year contract at $7.5 million, and you're going to be 35 when that finishes, and you're going to have blown a tire big time. Oh, and you want a no-move clause? Sure. Okay, yeah, we're all friends. Everybody likes playing for Toronto. That doesn't win championships. Victor Hedman wins championships. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he cost $9 million. It's mind-blowingly bad, right? You cannot go into a press conference and go, "Ooh, my family's very happy." It's like, Babcock is not perfect, but he comes in and goes, this is going to be painful. This is hard. This is hard work. And there's going to be bumps in the road, and we're ready, Did he go overboard? You could argue in the modern game he went overboard. But you see my point. The Ryan O'Reillys, the Acciaris, the Lou Lamoriellos win. The Victor Hedmans, what is his name in Tampa, Boudreau? Listen to the guy. He speaks with such clarity and confidence. He knows exactly what he's doing. Listen to John Cooper. He's intelligent, and he's solid. You know, you can see in his body language. Dubas is all, ooh, aren't we happy? Okay, so, case in point, let me explain why I say this. First question, you spoke to Sidney Crosby, and what does he say? I talked to Sid, so, sorry, one second. All right. So he speaks. So the question is, what is going to happen with these veterans? And how is this team going to win in the future? Sorry, it took me a while to get there. There's a few notes I have. It's worth it, trust me. So he goes to Sidney Crosby and says, his answer is, I went to Sidney Crosby and I said, do you want to win? And Sidney said, yes, I do. And Dubas said, well, that's good enough for me. That means that we have a winning culture here, and the young players that come in behind are going to pick up on that winning culture, and they're going to be great players, and we're going to go off and win the Stanley Cup. Like, no. Sorry. Let's roll this back. Your star player is on the decline. He's 35 years old and just missed the playoffs. Like the rest of the four, they have a top four, ironically. What are you going to do to replace these guys as their skill and speed and abilities decline? There's no answer there. You don't go and ask the top player, do you want to win? Of course he wants to win. He's wanted to win in junior, in the World Juniors, in World Hockey, in the Olympics. He won Stanley Cups. This is the stupidest question I've ever heard in my life. Sidney Crosby, do you want to win? Oh, yes, new GM Dubas, I do. Oh, well, okay, yay, let's go. It's all there for me. The abject lack of understanding of the job. Second question, what about Sidney Crosby's contract? Dubas did not know how long his contract is. He had to check it with the reporter. I mean, take an hour and go through Cap Friendly if you're going to be the president of the Penguins and you're going to sit there in a press conference. And don't do the press conference until you know all of those facts. What are you doing? This is why I say he's an absolute tit. So he says, but that's 2 years. That's 13 months down the line. We don't have to worry about that now. 13 months is anyway, it's in the future. We'll deal with it later. Like, oh my God. Oh my flipping Lord above. What a disaster this guy is. The answer should be, reality is, Sid is a top player in the league. Still gets a decent amount of points. But at his age, we would expect there will be a decline at some point. In order to deal with this decline, our plan is to, whatever your bloody plan is, but you have a plan, right? Not, oh, how long is this contract? Oh, we'll sign it in a couple of years, ha ha ha. I mean, the guy is clueless. He's just clueless. I'm sorry. So, last thing I'll say is, what we hear from Dubas is, the first thing out of his mouth was, this is a process. This is a process. The core, we want to contend. We want to be winners. My argument is, and I said this in February, I argued vehemently, and you can find it online, do not allow Dubas to trade away Toronto's future to try and save his job in Toronto by winning a round. Do not let him meddle with the assets of this team, including first-rounders, young upcoming defensemen like Sandin, and, well, the 2 first-rounders. Do not let him get UFAs to try and win. This team will not win. Samsonov is not a good enough goalie. The top 4 are not good enough in the playoffs. Riley has scored 3 goals all year, and he is your top stud defenseman. Excuse me? What kind of fantasy land do you live in? It's overly optimistic, it's reactionary, and it's basically foolish, which is like so much of what I see from so many people, especially in the media in Toronto. And I'll bang this drum as well. Toronto media is running interference to get into your pockets and take your money. The Toronto media goes, oh, yeah, Leafs, we got Brad Treliving, we're going to win. Let's all be optimistic. He won 2 rounds in 9 years. Shanahan chose to get rid of Lou, didn't bring Mark Hunter in, chose Dubas. Dubas failed completely. I don't care about regular season. Nobody gives a crap. The goal was to win the cup with that core, right? He failed. He didn't even win. He won one round. He lost versus bloody Montreal. That's how weak this team is. And now Brad Treliving, who has 2 series wins in 9 years. Oh, but excuses, right? Full of excuses. This organization full of excuses. Oh, but he has hands tied. The media goes, oh, but Brad Treliving, give him a chance. Brad Treliving is not going to do anything in Toronto except maintain mediocrity, which is all he knows how to do. Dubas is going to do nothing in Pittsburgh but throw away assets that he can, maintain mediocrity, sign guys cheaply and hope that they learn how to play hockey. Justin Hall. Sorry, buddy. You're probably a cool guy, but holy crap, NHL? AHL, that's your limit. So I'm shocked that FSG has made this mistake. Absolutely shocked. And I mean, sorry, another one from the press conference. Love this. What about the core? They're aging. He goes, well, we got Sully. Sully doesn't age. Sully's a coach. He'll be here forever. Oh my, dear Lord, give me strength. I cannot believe my eyes and ears listening to this goof. He's a fucking goof. I'm sorry. He's complete. Hockey guys in Toronto, the OGs, let's call them, know this to be a fact. You cannot play analytics and win. You need guys who are willing to put it on the line when it matters, to go into the corners, to fight for pucks against Bennett and Verhaeghe, ex-Leaf by the way, and Tkachuk, and plaster them to the boards like Bennett plastered Nyes to the boards. Everyone was, again, overly optimistic. Nice, it's gonna, it's great. He's a college player. He's not used to playing with veteran NHLers. He needs time and space to grow into the NHL like 99% of players do. So we know that this kind of commitment and mentality has to be there, not soft, shinny hockey. I'm not saying anything new there, and the OGs know this to be true. You also have to combine it with intelligent moves for players who are going to slightly overperform their level and money that you paid them. That has not been a hallmark of Dubas. We've lost Sandin. We lost 2 first-round picks. Ryan O'Reilly's going to leave. We barely beat Tampa. Tampa with, who's the defender that went out? Almost beat us. And they outplayed us. Had they had what's the bloody defender's name? Had they had him in, they probably would have won. Because that defense was so depleted, it was just ridiculous. Hedman was playing ridiculous numbers, So I'll look back on this video in 4 to 6 years when Dubas is fired and say, I bloody told you so. What a waste of time.